is Rachel, and today I'm bringing you my top 10 sci-fi fantasy series. So coming in at number 10 is the Asylum series by Madeline Rowe. This is the series is a lot of fun. It's really kind of creepy. If you liked Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, you will like the series. It doesn't necessarily use like traditional found pictures like Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, but it does have that same vibe where it's got these images that help you tell the story, and it really creates this creepy atmosphere. And the general basis of this is that we have three main characters that all meet at this summer camp at a university, and the dorm they are living in for the summer used to be an asylum. So all things go haywire. There are, I think, 4 full-length novels and then a collection of short stories. I believe that's the case, and I thought they all got progressively better, which is kind of unusual for a series, but this is a teen series. Like I said, it's supposed to be kind of spooky. I don't think it would really keep most people up at night, so if you're really squeamish, I think you should still be okay, but it is spooky enough for like the middle grade high school level, and I really enjoyed them. I read all of them. I'm definitely a fan of Madeline Rowe. I will continue to read her books. Next up at number 9 is kind of a strange one because most people I feel like here on BookTube don't like it, but I love it and I will defend it forever, and that is Shiver, the Wolves of Mercy Falls series by Maggie Stiefvater. I love this series. I know it's kind of like cheesy and it's actually not great, but it doesn't matter. I love it. I love reading these. I will always read these. I don't care what anybody says. I think they're fun. And if you're unaware, it is kind of like Twilight with like werewolf characters. Basically, we have a girl who has this really weird relationship with a wolf that lives behind her house, and you realize that it is a boy who's a werewolf. And a lot of the book is spent kind of figuring out how this works because he's a werewolf and she's a human, and can they cure him, and we find out about their lives, and I think that's kind of what I liked about it. You have these two really flawed teenagers, and it was kind of like the over dramatic for teenagers, but it's good, and you just see them kind of struggling and helping each other, and these two kids just met each other at the perfect time to help each other, and I just really enjoy the series. I just think it's so much fun. Again, I know a lot of people here have some hate for this series, but that's okay. I still love it. Next up at number 8 is the Carve the Mark series, which, is it a duology? Are we done? Because the second book's already out. I don't know. By Veronica Roth. Like I said, I can't remember now if this is going to be more than 2 books, but I still haven't read the second one somehow. I have it on my shelf downstairs, just haven't had time to read it, but I think the reason this one's making the list is because I was surprised by it. I wasn't expecting a lot because I hadn't heard great things, and then I read it with my high school students for book club, and I really liked it. Basically, it's this futuristic sci-fi world where people have powers, and there's 2 groups of people that are fighting because they each think the other one kind of deserves control of their planet. You know, the old trope. And a boy from one segment is sent and kind of captured, I guess, as like sort of like a slave for the other group. And of course, the 2 people, the boy from this one and the girl from this one, they kind of grow close, and they realize that maybe their preconceived notions of the other group is wrong. So I mean, it's kind of tropey, but I was surprised by this. I liked the characters. I liked kind of the backstory and the way the magic worked. Like I said, I was surprised by this one, and I liked it. So I am definitely looking forward to reading the second one, and if there are more in the series, I will look forward to reading those as well, but I don't know about that. I'll have to do some research on that. Next up is the Illuminate Files series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I have read book 1 and book 2 of this series. I have yet to read book 3, but I'm hoping to read it maybe for Tome Topple. We'll see. But I just think this is so much fun. I have seen books that use like text messages and emails to present a story, but I've never seen one that comes across as like a full-on dossier. And I liked the diversity of the artifacts that they used to tell the story. I like the story. It's hard to sell me on like real sci-fi stuff because most of the time once you go in space, like my brain just zooms out. So I really took a while to get into this one, to even pick it up because I knew it was going to be heavy on the sci-fi. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good story. I thought it was well done. I liked that you couldn't really tell who was writing which parts necessarily. I always worry about that when there's two authors working together, if it's going to feel kind of clunky between the two, but this was fantastic. The actual cover was really fun. And if you're unaware for some reason, this is about the first book, we'll start with that because I don't want to ruin anything. But the first book is about a boy and a girl who have just broken up on this planet, and the planet gets attacked. And they end up on two different rescue ships, and they're both trying to figure out, you know, what has happened and if everybody they know is okay. And they're fleeing this spacecraft that has attacked their planet. So it is very action-packed. There is a little bit of everything in this book for you, and it's just fantastic. I was so impressed with this book, and I like Jemina as well. That's a second book, and it brings in a few other characters, but it kind of ties things together really well, so I didn't mind it, and I am very much looking forward to reading the third book. Next up is the Carve series by Stephanie Garber. This is another one that I kind of took a while to pick up because I'd heard kind of mixed things, but I thought this was very charming. This centers around this magical traveling carnival, basically. And it reminds me, like the carnival part almost reminds me of Diagon Alley and Harry Potter. There's just so many things to look at and so many different magical forms like popping up everywhere. Like it just made me want to really be there. And I really, really enjoyed that part. It's kind of got like a murder mystery theme to all of the Caraval games, so that's a lot of fun. This particular Caraval in this book focuses on two sisters who have a really rough life living on an island with their father, and they get some tickets to Caraval on an island nearby, and they convince a new kind of mysterious boy to take them, and as soon as they show up to Caraval, one of the sisters goes missing. So is she part of the game? Is she not? We don't know. But I thought this was a lot of fun. I read Legendary as well, and they introduced a lot of new characters. I liked that one as well. A lot of atmosphere, a little bit more drama for me, but I liked it. And the third and final book, Finale, is going to be coming out next, and I am super excited for that. Next up at number 5 is the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. I have read book 1 and book 2, and I very much enjoyed them. This is, I think, one of the first adult fantasy novels that I've ever read and enjoyed, at least. This is the story of Kel. He can travel between 4 different parallel Londons, and it's all around these magical pieces. He is what they call a blood magician. That's why he can travel between them, and he kind of serves as a messenger between them. And each one is associated, at least in his mind, with a color. So there's red magic where Kel is from, and that's very rich and magical. There's gray London that is a lot more like our world without any magic. There is white London that is like magic starved, like they're fighting for magic. And then there is Black London, which kind of is a whole nother situation in and of itself. Like the magic has consumed that world. So there's just a lot of shenanigans when Kel tries to bring something from one London to another, and just kind of all hell breaks loose. And in the second book, we meet even more characters. We get a tournament, kind of like the Triwizard Tournament in Harry Potter, and I haven't read the third book yet, but I have it downstairs. I'm ready to read it. I feel like I always struggle to continue a series because I'm just afraid the next book is not going to be as good as the one I just enjoyed. So I feel like with series, I just kind of struggle just kind of struggle. But I have it. I'm gonna read it. I'm sure I will like it. I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I'm super excited to be finishing the series soon. Next up is the Fifth Wave series by Ricky Yancey. This is another trilogy, and I have read all of these. I really enjoyed them. I will say I think the first book was my favorite, but that's more or less just because it doesn't always go the way I want it to in the story, which doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means it's like, oh, I wish this person didn't do that, or this happened to this character, or whatever. But I thought this was such an interesting idea. I always market this to my kids at school as kind of like The Walking Dead, but with like an alien takeover instead of a zombie takeover. And it's really freaky in this book because the aliens have kind of invaded bodies, so you can't tell who's an alien and who's not. We have no idea what they look like. They look like all of us. And it comes obviously in 5 waves. That's why it's called the Fifth Wave. And they talk about like an avian flu virus that took out a lot of the community. And for some reason, I'm totally into reading about different pandemics that take out large communities. That's kind of a weird thing to admit, so please don't judge me. But that part being included in this book really drew me in, and also it takes place pretty much near where I am at in southern Ohio. A lot of the places mentioned are not that far from me, so I thought that was very interesting. The highways that she passes are highways that I travel on to move around the lower part here of Ohio, so I really enjoyed the series. I know my kids really like it, especially now that there is a movie, which I don't think I've seen the movie. I'll have to watch that sometime. And you know what? Now that I'm talking about all these series, I feel like I'm going to have to reread them all because it reminds me how much I like them. Next up is the top 3, and this was hard to choose, guys. Like, so I feel like the top 3 are just tied for top 3 because I really like all of these and I really couldn't pick. So we're just going to call it tied for top 3. So first up is one that I'm sure will surprise no one, that is on a top 10 list of sci-fi and fantasy books, and that is the Harry Potter series. I hope you're sitting down for this. I actually read this a long time ago, the first book that is, and I didn't like it. So I kind of gave up on Harry Potter. I just didn't get it. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't really into fantasy at all then. So I just wasn't feeling it. And then as I got further along in my library career, I just kept getting more and more like, how have you not read Harry Potter and how are you a librarian? So I decided to try it again, but this time I added in the audiobooks. And I don't know if it was the audiobooks that did it or kind of my change in taste or what, but the next time I read it, I really liked it. So I got a super late start to the Harry Potter party, and I've read the first 4 books, but now I kind of am in like with all the other series, like I don't want to read them necessarily because I want to savor them because I know there's not going to be any more coming out, so I'm having a hard time pushing myself to read them. Like I want to, but I don't want to not have them anymore, if that makes sense. But I am totally sold on this series now. I really enjoy it. I am totally converted into a Harry Potter fan at this point. And the fact that this came kind of out of nowhere and was kind of groundbreaking at the time is another reason why it just stands out to me. This is everything you want in a fantasy novel. It's just everything you want. And I don't need to tell you what it's about. If you don't know what Harry Potter is about, where have you been? So even if you don't like it, you know what it's about. But yes, it's fantastic. I can't wait, but I'm going to make myself wait to read the next ones. But maybe not. Maybe I'll just have a marathon and finish them up. I'm not sure. But I love them. I'm so excited. I'm a little sad that I didn't get into them much earlier when it was kind of the big thing. Now I wish I could have gone to like a release party. I think it would have been a lot of fun. But yeah. Fantastic. Then next up is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. This is like my go-to recommendation for students in my high school library. If you don't know what to read, I give them An Ember in the Ashes. This is just fantastic. We follow 2 main perspectives. We follow a girl who is kind of, like not necessarily a slave, but kind of. She is in a race that is kind of degraded by this other reigning force, and it's kind of like a little bit Romanesque, and the other side of things, the controlling party, they are fierce, and they're fiercest warriors. Their kind of security detail, their army, are all called masks, and that is the perspective we get from the other character. He is a mask in training at the Assassin's Academy, and he's not sure how this is gonna go. And these two have paths that cross for various reasons, particularly when the girl has to go undercover in the assassin school, right? So it's very interesting to read from opposite sides of the spectrum, but kind of in the same spot, if that makes sense. I'm horribly selling this book right now. Don't listen to what I'm saying, just go read it if you haven't. But I think it's fantastic. I think it's action-packed. I think it hits a lot of different concepts that make you think. It is so easy to relate this book to things happening in the world today. I just think it's fantastic, and I've read book 1 and 2. Book 3 is out, but once again, I know that our 4th and final book is not coming for a while, so I just am trying my hardest to save this 3rd book for a little bit longer, because I read the 2nd book as soon as it came out, and the wait for the 3rd one was about to kill me. So I'm trying to save it, but I'm not sure how much longer I can save it. So we'll see. But yes, fantastic, fantastic. There will be, I believe, 4 books in the series, and they're so good. If you haven't read them yet, you need to go read them. And the last book series that I'm going to recommend is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Yes, she's on this list twice, and I have to say again, this is another one that I put off. I really like the Shiver series, and a lot of people didn't. But a lot of people like this series that didn't like Shiver. So I was afraid that I was going to read this and I just was not going to like it, and somehow that was going to make the Shiver series less. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I finally broke down and read this, and then I was so mad at myself for waiting, because this series is fantastic. There's everything. There's some romance, there is some fantasy, there's some magic, there's an undead king buried somewhere that you have to find, there's ley lines, there's fortune tellers, there's a boys' school, there's ravens, there's dreams where you can pull things out. I mean, there is everything in this book series, and the writing is awesome, the characters are awesome, and the plot is awesome. What else do you need in a series? And I have absolutely read all 4 of these books, and I will definitely read them again. I would highly recommend doing the audio for this, because that guy's voice is perfect for this series. It's kind of southerny, Virginia-y. It just sounds exactly like somebody's telling you the story that happened there. It's fantastic. I love it. Go read it if you haven't. And yes, those are my top 10 sci-fi fantasy picks for you series-wise. I hope you find something new here to read, or that you are yay because I picked one of your favorites. So if I did mention one of your favorites, let me know down below. Let's fangirl together. And if you have a favorite sci-fi fantasy series that you would like to shout out, definitely link that down below so we can check it out. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in another video soon. Bye for now.